أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واذكر في الكتاب إدريس إنه كان صديقا نبيا ورفعناه مكانا عليا. So we just have a few ayahs today. Just to recap, we spoke lastly and we read through the passage in which Allah Ta'ala reminds us of the prophets, of the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, starting from him as the father of Anbiya and going onward to his progeny from both sides, the Israelis as well as the Ismailis. So speaking about the Israeli side of the family, the prophets over there, as well as the Ismaili family, speaking about Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah Ta'ala spoke about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and now continuing from there, the discussion of the prophets, ending with a few ayat in the passage. Allah Ta'ala says, وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ إِدْرِيسَ إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. That and mention also in the book, O Prophet of Allah, the tiding of Idris. Indeed, إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. Indeed, he too was ever truthful and an eminent prophet. And so we are reminded of the Prophet Idris alayhi salatu wasalam over here. Idris alayhi salatu wasalam was a grandchild of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. And Idris alayhi salatu wasalam, although we don't have much info about him, we know that besides the qualities that Allah Ta'ala has listed over here in the Quran, we know through hadith and other sources that Idris alayhi salatu wasalam was a person whom Allah Ta'ala blessed with knowledge of the cosmos. So Allah Ta'ala taught Adam alayhi salatu wasalam of the earth, and then the knowledge which he had passed down to Idris alayhi salatu wasalam, and then Allah Ta'ala gave nubuwwah to Idris alayhi salatu wasalam, and through wahi and revelation Allah Ta'ala taught him more of the skies and beyond the skies. Allah Ta'ala over here says about him, إِنَّهُ كَانَ صِدِّيقًا نَبِيًّا. He was ever truthful. We mentioned that the quality Siddiq, as it's mentioned before for many prophets as well, that it is a level and station of Iman. And so you don't have to be a prophet to be a Siddiq. However, you can be, or if you are a prophet, then you are going to be a Siddiq as well. But it's not necessary that you are a Siddiq and you are a prophet, like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu. What is a Siddiq? It is the one who without any hesitance accepts the order of Allah Ta'ala, and he, rather they are driven by the truthfulness within themselves, the truthfulness of the ruh that calls out to the true reality of Allah Ta'ala, that yearning and that call within their own self drives them, it pushes them towards the haqq, and it pushes them towards the truth. And that is what a Siddiq is. And so a Siddiq cannot be, you cannot come between a Siddiq and the Sidq, a Siddiq and truthfulness and the truth. Nabiya, this was an added blessing that Allah Ta'ala blessed him with. To be a Nabi, no one can choose to be a Nabi. You cannot do any amal and then one day you'll become a Nabi. Allah Ta'ala chooses whomsoever He wishes and He makes them into a Nabi. وَرَفَعْنَاهُ مَكَانًا عَلِيًّا. Thus we raised him in name and station to a high place. So the translator here is choosing one of the interpretations by saying in name and station. However, when Allah Ta'ala says over here, we raised him to a high place, is this a actual high place, or is this a not literal but rhetorical high place, that which, for example, the translator is taking over here in other words, that Allah Ta'ala is saying we honored him. The Mufassirun say that there's no reason if there's no reason, and this is from the principles of not only tafseer but of fiqh and other sciences as well, if there's no need to hinder away from the literal meaning, right? If there's no need nor any evidence, then we will not hinder away from the literal meaning. We will take the literal meaning. The literal meaning is the meaning that we take first. Unless there is a need, a necessity, or we have evidence why, then we will go away from the literal meaning to a rhetorical meaning, which is permitted within the Arabic language. So for example, over here, Allah Ta'ala says that we raised him to a high place. The ulama, some of the mufassirun take this into a literal meaning and say that yes, he was raised. And then they explain that how was he raised? Some of the mufassirun, and this is an opinion of them, that they say that it was like the rafa' of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, that he was raised from the dunya without being given death. And so Idris alayhi salatu wasalam is one of the prophets who was without being given death raised to the heavens. Then you have the other understanding, which is the rhetorical understanding, which is that Allah Ta'ala means by this that we raised him in name and in honor, and that we made him a leader of his tribe and of his people. And this is the other meaning which the Mufassirun have given. And the next ayah, and we conclude with this ayah, Allah Ta'ala says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِم مِّنَ النَّبِيِّينَ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّةِ آدَمَ. These are some of the great ones, the great people, upon whom Allah, God, has bestowed grace from among the prophets of the seed of Adam. So Allah Ta'ala spoke about the lineage of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. They all go back to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and how Allah Ta'ala blessed them. Now when Allah Ta'ala spoke about blessings, He didn't speak about, and inheritance was mentioned earlier as well, how Ishaq and Yaqub inherited their father. What did they inherit? Not wealth, but they inherited prophecy. They inherited ilm, knowledge, and characteristics, akhlaq. And the ulama, they go on and they expand upon this, that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum also gained from the waratha, for example, of the tariqa Muhammadiyya, the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some gained more in the waratha, in the inheritance. Some gained less. Right? And that inheritance, it continues. That inheritance continues, and we take from that inheritance. So Allah Ta'ala speaks about blessings which He blessed them with, the lineage of Adam. When He's talking about the lineage, He's not talking about direct blood lineage. Rather, He's talking about a spiritual lineage, which is the lineage of prophethood. So the lineage of prophethood. So you have prophets. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said that all of us prophets, we are like brothers. We are like brothers. The only thing is, we may have a different mother. Referring to, of course, that we have differences in our lineage. However, we are the same. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala made us the same in our spiritual traits, and our characteristic and behavioral traits. For example, one of the ulama, when speaking about the hadith in the Shama'il of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ was a person who was of great worry and concern. The Prophet ﷺ, it is said about him that in the night when he would pray, the cry which would come from his chest, it would sound like the sound of a boiling pot. So the scholar Imam al-Bajuri rahimahullah in the commentary says that hazan, the quality of worry and concern for people, was a mutawarath, an inherited quality of the prophets. So you see something inherited. Right? It's not just genes which are inherited, qualities are also inherited. We inherit qualities from our predecessors. And so Allah Ta'ala speaks about ni'am, blessings which He blessed them with, not of wealth, not of physical, material inheritance, rather of qualities of knowledge, of nubuwah, of prophethood, from the lineage of Adam. And so how does that start from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam? That Adam alayhi salatu wasalam came to the earth, and that was a blessing from Allah Ta'ala to Adam. Right? It wasn't a punishment, it was a blessing that Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was brought to the earth. And then the cycle of not only human life but of prophethood started, and revelation was sent to the earth. The first of that revelation to Adam alayhi salatu wasalam being that Allah taught him how to cook, Allah taught him how to clean, Allah Ta'ala taught him how to speak. So the development of the human being wasn't a primitive one, which the human beings had a caveman age, and they had certain stages and ages, and that's how they learned. They couldn't speak first. Rather, our revelation teaches us that Allah Ta'ala taught Adam alayhi salatu wasalam certain things which even the angels didn't know. Now if the angels are intellectual beings, if they have knowledge which normal people don't have, they see things which normal people don't see, and they carry vast knowledge, then if Adam ﷺ knew what they didn't know, that means he was very brilliant. That means he was very genius. That means he wasn't just a caveman, he was brilliant. He was a brilliant person. And this is why in Ash'ari doctrine, in our belief, we believe that, for example, language was something divinely inspired to the Prophet, Adam ﷺ, right? Now what language was it? Was it Arabic? Was it any other language? There's a lot of discussion within that. Possibly not enough evidence to come to a conclusion. However, language itself was a divine blessing. Language itself was a divine blessing, for example, given to Adam ﷺ and then taught to the rest of his children and the prophets after him as well. And so, for example, Allah Ta'ala says, then after, وَمِمَّنْ حَمَلْنَا مَعَ نُوحٍ, and from those who we carried in the ark with Nuh, after the extinction of part of mankind and the Allah Ta'ala desired that some go extinct and some live, and the lineages of those people continue who were on the ark with Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, then their language and their teachings which Allah Ta'ala gave them, that also continued. That also continued. And these are from the blessings of Allah Ta'ala. So it started off, human development and wahi started off from teaching us the basics on how to live and be human beings. Then coming to the age of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, when Allah Ta'ala gave Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam sharia. So they had sharia then after the age of Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam, and that continued and developed until it came to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we had the al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, the perfect and complete deen. وَمِن ذُرِّيَّةِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْرَائِيلَ, and from the seed of Ibrahim and Israel alayhi salatu wasalam, that development and blessings they continue, and from those whom we guided to truth, faith, and selected as prophets. The translator over here uses selected as prophets. However, that's not necessary. وَمِمَّنْ هَدَيْنَا, rather some Mufassirun mention that Allah Ta'ala is referring to both groups of human beings, prophets and non-prophets. So وَمِمَّنْ هَدَيْنَا, those who we divinely guide through wahi, meaning those whom we make prophets and we guide them, or wajtabaina, those who we select from the non-prophets. And we know that this story, Maryam, of Surah Maryam, is not just about prophets but about non-prophets. Maryam alayhi salatu wasalam, who was not a prophet. And then Allah Ta'ala speaks about the signs of these people. What are the signs of the people of Iman? What are the signs of the people of blessings? The signs of the people of Nubuwah? The signs of the people of prophethood? That when the verses of Allah, إِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُ الرَّحْمَنِ, when the verses of the All-Merciful were recited to them, خَرُّوا سُجَّدًا وَبُكِيًّا, they fall to the ground in worship of Him alone, bowing their faces down and weeping. So you have the knowledge that they were given, the blessings that they were given, and then you have the manifestation, the presence and appearance of those blessings which appear physically upon the people of Iman. So Iman is not just, right, although it's primitively a belief and something stated on the tongue, it physically manifests in amal. It shows in a person's action. What is that action? That when the ayat, the signs of Allah Ta'ala appear in front of these people, that they cannot hold themselves but to submit to the divine reality and submit to the servitude of the human being to the Master and King Allah Ta'ala, and they submit in a manner by which they are in prostration to Him and they cry to Him. And over here we conclude, and from the next passage inshallah next week we will continue. May Allah Ta'ala grant us understanding of these ayat and the capability to bring them within our life. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka Allahumma wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullahu khairan.